All right, I feel like this is pretty newsworthy and needs to be talked about. I mean, I live here in the United States, and actually the majority of you do too, according to the YouTube analytics. So this is definitely important news because, I mean, we're talking about potentially catastrophic global events breaking out if this actually works, if this game plan for Israel works. And guess who's going to be in the center of it? And it's not even like it's us doing it, at least from what we know. It's not even like we're the ones doing all this, which is weird, right? Because like there's all the internet memes and whatnot, like, oh, the USA when they see oil and it just shows like a bald eagle with like 4 M16s flying down with like explosions in the background. Like the US is kind of known for its ability to like fight a war, okay? But it's not even us doing it this time, which is weird because, you know, historically, like we've only not been at war in our country's history for like 30 years of the 300 or something crazy like that, right? But if Israel has their way, we're going to be in one by the end of November. So yeah, once again, I think this is important to talk about. So if you don't know, the US and Israel have one of the tightest relationships between countries on planet Earth. Now, Israel, of course, sits in the Middle East. We sit on North America. And, well, when it comes down to it, pretty much everyone else in the Middle East just dislikes Israel with a passion. Israel is kind of like the most hated guy on the block, I guess. And a lot of them just simply want to eradicate Israel. So Israel is kind of always in like this heightened state of panic where, you know, they're rapidly building up their military and making sure that they can like viably compete, I guess. Now, the United States, when it comes down to something like that, probably a pretty good ally to have, considering, you know, once again, where we pretty much have the strongest military on Earth when you look at it all. And of course, we've had our own problems in the Middle East as well, you know, for, well, 20 years now, so. But Israel is really kind of stepping out of the comfort zone and, of course, trying to, I guess, rekindle tensions. And honestly, I don't really think that's a good thing because, I mean, this can literally break out into a global conflict that involves just more than Iran and Israel. As a matter of fact, Israel is quite literally trying to drag the US into this whole thing, which in turn would probably drag the entire West into it, which could even trigger other countries jumping aboard on the other side. So basically, you know, Iran over the last few years or whatever, like they've been kind of ramping up nuclear production once again. They've been building like a bunch of enrichment sites and whatnot. They have a bunch of major missile production sites and whatnot that they've been building and working on and maintaining and things like that, because obviously Iran is trying to nuclearize, I guess is the right way to say that, nuclearize. The treaty kind of fell through between the US and Iran, so I guess it's back on or whatever, so. But Israel is trying to slow that down, it seems, because according to intelligence, Israel is causing fires and bombings at military facilities and whatnot in Iran. So basically on July 2nd at the Natanz enrichment site in Iran, there was a big explosion, right? Completely fucked the building up, lots of damage done. And this, of course, isn't the only time that this has happened. This has happened, it's been like a series of events, I guess, in the recent weeks. And Iran's been investigating it, and they already assume that some of them have some sort of foreign sabotage involved. But according to a former Israeli defense official, it's actually common knowledge that at least some of the later attacks that have been done in Iran were done by Israeli intelligence, aka Israel found out something and caused something, and guess what happened? Now, I mean, let's think about this logically. Of course, Iran and Israel, they're pretty much like sworn enemies. They just don't blow each other up right yet, and Iran and the US also don't get along. So, I mean, if we're thinking about this, like Israel, they might be able to hold out against like Iran if they were in a fight, but I mean, it would be way easier if they dragged the US into this, and that's literally what they're planning to do. And you might be like, well, Optimus, how is that the case, right? Because they're the ones doing this. They're the ones causing these fires and explosions. Why would Iran then kind of look at the US and be like, hey, we're fighting, right? I mean, tensions between the US and Iran are already pretty much at a record high, especially after we killed that general and they shot a bunch of missiles at one of our bases. That right there almost led to like a full-scale conflict. I mean, if like Donald Trump handled that even a little bit differently and just said like we're going to retaliate, it could have literally just been a full-scale war in the Middle East right now. So tensions are already high, and Israel knows that, so they're kind of taking advantage of that. But what also Israel does know is that in November, we're having a presidential election. See, here in the US, like, it's not really a guarantee that as president, you're going to last more than 4 years. You have to be reelected by voting. So that's currently what Donald Trump is aiming to do. He's actually trying to get a second term to run 8 years as president through 2024. And Israel knows that, and they're taking advantage of that fact. So what they're doing is they're doing all these explosions, they're blowing all this shit up and whatnot to try and bait Iran into acting irrationally and trying, like, to get them into a conflict with Israel and the United States before November. Now, you might be asking, well, why does the presidential election matter that much? Well, there's a very stark reason why, okay? So, when you look at the foreign policies of both Donald Trump and Joe Biden, they're pretty different. And Israel also knows that. If Donald Trump were to be reelected, or if this fight were to break out before Trump was even possibly voted out of office, Trump would be the one who kind of broke the initial thing off, right? He'd be the one who helps make the initial decisions, his cabinet, his, generals and whatnot. So basically, Trump is pretty open to the idea of messing up Iran. I mean, let's be honest, he wouldn't have basically had that general smoked if that wasn't the case. Trump and Iran don't get along, and Trump is honestly not afraid of a conflict with them. But when it comes to Joe Biden, it seems like he's a little bit more cautionary about that kind of idea. He doesn't really want to just jump off into another war. And so that kind of difference right there is something that Israel is trying to capitalize on, right? They want this to break off and start before Trump's out of office so that he can kind of make the initial steps. Now, keep in mind, think about this. Israel isn't going to be the one fighting this war if it breaks off. And this is the problem. This is why people here in the United States should be mad and asking questions. It's not going to be Israel fighting the potential war. It's going to be the United States. Even if, we don't put troops on the ground, right? Like, if it was strictly between Israel and Iran, we're still the ones fighting that war because all the money that we give Israel, it's going to be going right into that war. And we funnel billions upon billions of dollars to the Israelis every single year. We give them a lot of foreign aid. And at this point, if something were to break off between Iran and Israel, guess what? Even if we weren't on the ground, our money's going into the situation anyway. So, we're economically fighting the war. But then on top of that, geopolitically, we'd be fighting the war because, countries are going to be quick to denounce that war and to probably denounce Israel for kind of starting most of it. So either we defend Israel and the rest of the world's like, hey, you guys are a bunch of fucking warmongers too and you're causing problems, which could lead to further problems, or we basically have to ditch Israel in that whole situation, and then they get pissed, okay? And then we look like cowards. So it's really not a good situation, and it's not something that people in the U.S. should be happy about. I know that there's a lot of anti-Iranian sentiment, especially in the last 10 years here, but if we can avoid a war with them, if possible, that's probably the best thing that we can do. Because in reality, we don't really need more war. You know what I'm saying? It's stupidly expensive. It kills so many young Americans who had bright futures ahead of them. And for what, right? Because fucking Israel decided they wanted to blow some buildings up in a different country? It's not even us. You know what I'm saying? So this is a dangerous situation because, even if, once again, it's just Israel and Iran, we're suffering some sort of consequence. And that's pretty unlikely anyway, considering how close of allies that we are. Our military's trained together and everything. If something were to pop off, we'd be involved. It's the same thing with North and South Korea. If the North invaded the South tomorrow and didn't even shoot a single shot at American troops, we would still be fighting, okay? That's just how it is. So this is a dangerous situation that needs to be addressed, and I don't know what the U.S. intends to do about it. I don't know if Trump is going to try and denounce it or anything. I have no clue, but it's pretty clear what Israel's trying to do. And I think that it's messed up because thinking about it, what country wants to get dragged into this entire thing, right? What country wants another one to drag them into a war? It's not really a sound idea in the first place, but then on top of that, it's just stupid, right? So I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know if, next thing tomorrow Iran is just blasting off on the U.S. and Israel. I have no clue. But there's been 7 weekly incidents, it seems like. Once again, there was a missile production facility on June 22nd that had explosions ring off. The Natanz nuclear facility, like I just talked about, which was actually Iran's largest uranium enrichment center. That happened on July 2nd. And then there was an important shipyard in the city of Bushehr, which, is a port city to begin with. But it was an important shipyard, and it had, an issue arise. So, and it seems like there's daily reports of fires and explosions and stuff, and Iran is treating it like potential foreign sabotage. And a Middle Eastern official even told the New York Times earlier this month that they pretty much know that the Israeli intelligence services were responsible for that nuclear facility explosion. And then the Israeli Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi said at a press conference back on July 5th that when it comes down to the situation, that they take actions that are better left unsaid. It's yeah, congrats, you're taking actions that are left unsaid that can have global fucking consequences. That's pretty cool. At a certain point, it just comes down to the fact that, I'm 20 years old. I don't want to get drafted to go to fucking Iran to play Battle Royale. because someone in Israel decided they wanted to, like, just cause 3 somebody's nuclear facility. You know what I'm saying? I don't really want to have to deal with that. Like, I enjoy making YouTube videos. I enjoy having a Popeye's chicken sandwich every once in a while. I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. I don't enjoy playing Call of Duty Warzone IRL, you know what I'm saying? So, like, Israel's not going to be watching this video, but, you know, like, Israel's foreign minister or whatever, if you're watching this video, can you please stop? Because it's just ridiculous, you know what I'm saying? Just complete goofy shit. So, I don't know, I guess the whole point of the entire thing is to try and, like, cause stress and pressure on the Iranians, which in turn could lead them to lash out, I guess, a little bit irrationally, or maybe you could consider it rationally, and kind of drag the US into a conflict before Trump can be voted out because of the difference in foreign ideals, I guess, between him and Joe Biden. So I gotta say, it's a pretty ingenious idea that the Israelis are pulling off here to try and drag us into the conflict, but like I would appreciate it if we don't do that, you know what I'm saying, fellas? So I don't know, I feel like that was newsworthy and people should know about that though. So thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. Thank you to my channel members, your support helps my channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus. Well, hopefully not getting drafted for Season 5 Warzone Battle Royale taking place in Tehran, and signing out.